Thank you very much. My name is Reuben Waddy, Vice President and Program Director for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and I'm joined by Kelly Hadfield, who is a Program Coordinator for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. So give me one moment and I'm going to bring up the presentation. Okay, Kelly, are we good to go? Is the presentation coming up? Thank you. All right, thank you everybody for joining. We'll go ahead and get started. So the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is comprised of four individuals, two of which are on this call today. Joshua Sun is the lead program administrator, the projects administrator for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and works directly for the Department of Planning and Development. He is joined by his colleague over at the city, Joshua Langen, coordinator of economic development for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund through the Department of Planning and Development. I, of course, am Reuben Waddy, Vice President and NOF Director. I represent a company called SomerCor, and we are the third-party administrator for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. We're also an originator of 504 loans, and we administer the Small Business Improvement Fund. And joining me today is Kelly Hadfield, NOF Associate Project Manager, also with SomerCor. So thank you all again for joining this call. We're very happy that you're here. So we're going to go over the NOF broadly. We'll discuss what it is, what to consider before applying, what the process is for applying and expectations, and then we'll conclude with some next steps and provide some general contact information, and then we will have a Q&A session. So what is the NOF program? So it was founded back in 2016, and the whole idea is for it to build vibrant commercial corridors, particularly on the south, southwest, and west sides of Chicago. It is very specific to those regions. It's a reimbursement grant and also provides technical assistance. And the whole idea is for it to support commercial rehabilitation as well as new construction. Commercial entities are the focus of the program, but if you're a nonprofit with a commercial component, you can also apply, as well as cultural institutions. So it's really all about investing in these communities, promoting strength within these communities, prioritizing commercial uses here, ensuring investments are made in these areas, and then building community wealth based off disbursement of these grants. So we'll go over, of course, the program in more detail, but it was founded off these core metrics. The Neighborhood Opportunity Fund is funded by the Neighborhood Opportunity Bonus, of which 80% goes to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund and 20% to other programs. It is not federally funded. It is funded directly from developer fees that come from downtown development. So again, these are not federal funds. These are funds that come from developer fees and are controlled completely by the city of Chicago. So to date, and I think these numbers might have changed a little bit, we have 113 completed projects representing 31 community areas and 22 wards. We also have a map that demonstrates where you might find completed projects. So that will be disseminated to the public pretty soon, so you can see exactly where the projects are clustered in the city of Chicago. So this is an example of a project that primarily focused on their exterior, but there is also some interior renovations. So this is going to be in South Lawndale, and it's called Levitt Laundry. They did an entire facade renovation focusing on the brickwork and as well as the storefront, but and some signage, of course. But on the interior, they did some HVAC work, as well as some work in the basement to stabilize the structure. This is Brownville Winery, which is classified as a gut rehab over there on 4420 South Cottage Grove Avenue in Grand Boulevard. This is a $250,000 NOF grant, which is the max allowed through the program. The building itself, the landlord vanilla boxed it, and then Rezo Winery came in and finished the renovation to support their business. So yeah, these are before and afters of Brownsville Winery. So the people that are involved, or the entities that are involved with the administration of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, are going to be the Department of Planning and Development, which is where the funds come from. And so they're going to be in charge of helping select NOF finalists and grant recipients, and then help them navigate different parts of the city of Chicago, such as inspections and licensing. SomerCor is the lead program administrator for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. So we're the primary point of contact for NOF applicants and finalists from start to finish. So yeah, we're pretty much involved in every step of the process. SomerCor again also originates 504 loans and administers the Small Business Improvement Fund. If anybody has any questions about that, I'll leave my email in the chat. It will also be in this presentation, and then we can talk separately about those programs if anybody is interested. So what's new? Because some of you might remember the NOF program from when it was instituted back in 2016. Still largely the same program, but there are three primary changes that I would like to highlight today. First is the revised technical assistance fund. There was a technical assistance fund for the program previously, but we made some key changes, primarily doubling the capital that's available for this program from 25,000 to 50,000. But it does have a soft cap of 20% of the total max grant allowed per project. We're allowing for project managers and architects to apply, and we're actually administering that RFQ as we speak. And that process should be complete by the first week of May. So again, by the first week of May, we should have selected our architects and project managers participating in this program. Again, it's really just an augmented program. We've already had the Technical Assistance Fund. We just made some changes to make the program more accessible to NOF finalists in the future. I think the most important change we made is increasing the coverage of the grant. It was originally a 50% reimbursable grant, but now it is 75%. So 75 cents on the dollar, or if you have $100 of total project costs, your total reimbursement rate is $75,000 or 75% of 100,000. So this, of course, increases the capital that's accessible to entrepreneurs that are applying for the program. We think that's going to help them leverage additional resources for other critical business ventures, such as operating expenses, equipment expenses, rent, mortgage payments, and things like that. So we're able to give them more capital for the project to help them get more capital for other important aspects. And finally, we have the loan loss reserve, because historically with the NOF program, where finalists that have been selected have had challenges is with securing financing that they can use as leverage to help complete the project. So we are soliciting the services of community development financial institutions to participate in a loan loss reserve program that will enable them to make more loans or make more available financing, or financing more available for our constituents on the southwest and west sides. We're doing the RFQ for CDFIs concurrently with the TAs, so they should also be selected sometime in the beginning of May, and their information will be made available. And they should be able to start business loan applications for construction, as well as the underwriting process pretty soon from there. So again, these are three areas where the program has changed. There are some other changes as well, but these are the three main areas that have changed for the program that should make the grant a lot more accessible to a lot more people in our service area. So let's talk a little bit about the structure. Again, this is a 75% reimbursable grant. So for a $100,000 total project cost, the reimbursement rate is 75%. So that means that the grantee portion for their project cost only comes up to about 25%. of the total project costs. So in the $100,000 example, it's going to be a $25,000 investment overall from the applicant. Do keep in mind that the 75% is a soft cap. There is a hard cap for the grant, and that is $250,000. So $250,000 is the maximum grant allowable through this program. And as well as the technical assistance fund, the maximum grant allowed for that is 50,000, but again, the soft cap for it is 20% of the grant amount. Happy to answer any additional questions about this in the QA session. As far as how we calculate the grant, we take first the base grant amount, 75% of total project costs, or 250,000, whichever is less. Acquisition is also an allowable expense for the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and the grant for acquisition is applied as a credit to the construction grant. So we do not disperse funds in advance for acquisition, and we don't disperse funds once someone has acquired the property. All grant proceeds for acquisition are applied as a credit to the reimbursable construction grant. But one other thing to note about acquisition is that it does have to be paired with a construction project, either rehab or new construction. So you can't just apply to NOF for acquisition. It has to be acquisition rehab or acquisition new construction. And of course, we have the technical assistance fund where we take 20% of the base grant or 50,000, whichever is less. So those are the three ways that we calculate the grant. And again, my contact information should be in the chat, so I can have individual conversations with everybody upon request. And I can go through some different models of how the grant can be calculated. The whole idea is to make this as easy for you all to understand upon application. We do have a couple models in there that could be helpful for you to conceptualize how the grant is paid out. And this is actually a good pivot into letting you all know exactly how the grant is paid out. The first way is reimbursement, where, or if you want to use the term rebate, you can, but this is a reimbursable grant. So if you spend $100,000, you get $75,000 back. So 75 cents on the dollar. So that's how reimbursement works. It's just you get paid after you pay the contractors. Unique to NOF is something called construction escrow. So a lot of developments are financed through title companies or escrow companies that manage payments to contractors. So what makes NOF unique is that we have access to this construction escrow setup, and that's actually how we end up financing a majority of our projects, if I'm not mistaken. And essentially think of it like this. Instead of you having to come up with all the money for construction, which can be very cost prohibitive, it can be quite a challenge to get $100,000 for construction. Then think of it like this. You only need to come up with your portion of project costs plus a contingency for cost overruns. So with $100,000 total project costs, instead of you having to come up with $100,000 outright, you only need to come up with $25,000 because the grant of $75,000 is then paired with your $25,000 and placed into an escrow account. From there, we make payments to the contractors as opposed to the applicant. And once the contractors are paid through escrow, then the grant has been dispersed. So again, this is a reimbursable grant. This is a reimbursement grant program, but we also have the construction escrow account for if you choose to not do reimbursement and you only have part of the financing, and we can go ahead and pay the contractor with a combination of your fund and ours. And the good thing about construction escrow is that that'll free up financing that you might need for other critical business ventures, especially if you are a startup. Again, I'm happy to have individual conversations with anybody to go over how the grant is structured and make it as easy as possible for you to understand. So what should you consider before applying? So our current map has priority and eligible corridors. These have been the same since 2016, although they are subject to change within the next year or so. So in future versions of this presentation, you might see a different map as well as a different map on our website. But your project must be located on one of these corridors. So, you see a lot of neighborhoods here represented. You see Chicago Lawn, North Lawndale, South Lawndale, uh, South Shore, South Chicago, Roseland, Pullman, New City, Bronzeville. Um, those are primarily where the corridors are going to be, and your project does have to be located on a corridor. Now you'll see that there's other neighborhoods that aren't there. So for instance, Rogers Park all the way up north, you'll notice that there aren't any corridors there. That's because the program is focused on the south, southwest, and west sides. However, we do have a little bit of northwest side representation. We do go all the way up to Fullerton. As you see, we have some representation on North Avenue as well. So there is Humboldt Park in there, or Hermosa, if that's what you call it. But yes, we do go a little bit on the northwest side as well. But again, this is our map, and these are the corridors where the project must be in order for you to be eligible. Again, this map is subject to change at some point within the next year, potentially longer. But again, once this map changes, the presentation will be updated to reflect that as well as our websites. So what makes you an eligible applicant and what can you apply for? So again, the focus of this grant is commercial activity. So we're looking for commercial properties located within these corridors. They could be office, retail, and exteriors of mixed use residential. Just to clarify that, we do help with the development and redevelopment of mixed use buildings. We can help out with the entirety of the commercial portion, but we can only help out with the exterior component of the residential portions. So if you're looking to renovate your facade for a 3-story building with first floor commercial and then 2 floors residential, we can do the entire facade and we can do the roof, we can do the windows. But if you needed to do HVAC for the apartments, we can't fund that. We allow for cultural institutions like museums, theaters, and performance venues. We have a lot of examples of those, like 345 Art Gallery and Teatro Tariacuri, if I'm not mistaken. We do allow for nonprofit organizations with an on-site commercial component. Yeah, so but the focus of the grant is going to be on the commercial properties and cultural institutions. And then finally, we do allow for artisanal manufacturing, production, and services. So think of something like a coffee roaster on site. So those are what's going to be eligible for the NOF. And again, the focus is commercial businesses and commercial properties. Ineligible types include residential. So by that, I mean purely residential. So home-based businesses, live workspaces, or just people that are looking to develop their homes. That's not an allowable expense through the grant program. This grant program is not for housing redevelopment. Like I said, we can do the exterior of mixed-use buildings, but we can't do the interior residential for a mixed-use building. So that rule applies the same. Social service organizations, including workforce development and daycare centers, are not eligible for the program. Places of worship are not eligible. And finally, heavy industrial and heavy manufacturing. So again, commercial activity and commercial properties is the focus of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, and particularly in the corridors that I highlighted earlier. As far as expenses, the easiest way to think about it is if it stays in the building when the business leaves, then it's eligible. So we're talking about exterior stuff such as roofing, facades, storefront systems, windows, and all that. Minor site improvements from part of a larger project like painting, mechanicals, HVAC, electrical, carpentry, rough framing and finishing. The obvious stuff like demolition, site preparation, environmental remediation, those are all going to be eligible expenses for the program because those all constitute your typical rehab project. We also do have architectural and engineering fees as an eligible expense. Ineligible expenses will include minor repairs that are not part of a larger project. So painting is eligible, but if that's all you're applying for and it's like $500, then it's not going to be eligible. Construction rehabilitation of the interior of a residential, that's part of a mixed-use building, or just straight up residential in general. Building code violations that present a clear and present danger to the public are not going to be eligible. But I do want to note that there are varying degrees of building code violations that will be cited. So I encourage you to look at, if you know that there are violations, I encourage you to research exactly what those are, and then apply for the NOF grant if you don't feel like they are egregious and present a clear and present danger to the public. And then finally, operating expenses of any kind are not an allowable expense. So like wages and rent. This is another example project, someone that did their facade a few years back. And this is an example of probably our smallest grant where somebody just wanted to, or Black Planet Products wanted to replace their sign. And so that's what they did, and they received a $10,000 grant for it. And we really wanted our before and afters to represent the very wide range of project costs and grant amount. So you saw before and after of a $250,000 NOF grant, and now you're looking at one of a smaller NOF grant that was just a sign. So we want to encourage projects of all scales to apply for the grant. So what are some resources that are available to you before applying? We do have a number of toolkits that will help walk you through the application process. We can even go over these toolkits one-on-one if you'd like, and we do plan on expanding on these toolkits in the future. It's not necessarily mandatory for you to go through the toolkits, but you'll probably find them extremely helpful in order to help navigate the application as well as other aspects of the grant program. We have a very large number of community partners that have provided a wide array of services, and those services can include financial assistance, helping you fill out your application, helping you locate a property, business coaching, general construction advice, even connecting you with the contractor, or even connecting you with the legal representative. Our community partners don't all do the same thing, and we're currently building out. In fact, it might be partially complete, a map or a database that tells you exactly what a community partner can do, in case you had questions about somebody. Because again, there are plenty of community partners on here, and they provide a wide array of services. But yeah, they're on hand to help you out with your NOF related needs. We have a list of them on our website. They normally work within their geographies, but some of them are location agnostic. So we encourage you to seek the help of community partners if you feel like you need them. So how do you apply? We accept applications on a rolling basis, and what that means is that you can apply at any time. Some grant programs open for 2 or 3 months out of the year. We're open all year. And the whole point of that is to give you the opportunity to take your time in filling out the application, because there is a lot of information, there's a lot of questions in there. We want to encourage people to take their time. And we also want to capture as many applications as possible, so that's why it's open year round. The next evaluation intake deadline is Friday, May 16th at 11:59 p.m. of this year. That doesn't mean the application closes at that time. It just means that we are going to be evaluating applications submitted before that time. But you can still apply 12 a.m. on Saturday, May 17th, if you'd like. It's just that your application will be considered for the next application period. Again, want to reiterate, you can submit your application at any time. There is not just a single open application window and then it closes. It's open at any time. The application is online, so we don't accept paper applications, and it's through a website called submittable.com. Now, if you needed help with navigating Submittable at a basic level, I can provide assistance there. I can't help you fill out your application, full disclosure, because I am one of the reviewers of applications, so I can't tell you exactly what to put in, and I can't fill out your application for you. I can let you know how to navigate submittable, and I can let you know what to think about in terms of your application. Submittable is free, so you can create your account there. And you can find a preview of the questions using one of our aforementioned toolkits. The application itself can be saved and you can come back to it later. So once you're logged in and you start filling it out, you don't have to fill it all out right then and there. You can answer a few questions and then come back another time. And if you don't have the mandatory documents to upload, you can get those documents and come back at a later time. I do want to mention though that it is very important for you to submit the mandatory documents that we ask for as we ask for them. So please submit the bank statements. Please submit the contractor's bids as we ask for them. Those are going to be crucial in determination of your application for consideration as a finalist. Just to go over some common application mistakes, you might find these helpful as you're going through the application process. A lot of times people don't upload the documents that we ask for, or they will upload like a blank Word document. So we just ask that you actually upload the document as prompted. If you're a startup business, please upload your business license. What we've come across is that startup businesses will sometimes list themselves as existing to try to bypass the business plan requirement because we ask for different documents of existing businesses. I strongly encourage you to fill out a comprehensive business plan and send it. It is pretty easy to see when a business is a startup that said that they're existing. And then also please make sure to upload your strategic plan. So I would say that those are pretty common application mistakes, especially for startups, just not submitting a business plan or answering the questions a certain way so that they don't have to upload one. Again, it's pretty apparent when it's a startup business. We just ask that you submit a startup. Sorry, we ask that you submit a business plan. So that kind of goes into insufficient preparation. Some applicants won't have the prerequisite site control, or they won't have the bids, or they won't be able to meet other baseline criteria. So they submit blank documents just to bypass it. Again, applications do go through a thorough review process. So please make sure to upload the documents. And if you don't have them, the beauty of the NOF grant is that it's open for applications at any time. You can come back and fill it out later. We have hundreds of applications right now that are currently pending, and all of them presumably have documents that they need to gather at a later time so that they can submit their application when it's ready. So a lot of people are utilizing this, and we encourage you to utilize it as well. There's no rush to submit the application, and you're not doing yourself favors if you don't submit the actual documentation that we asked for. And that goes into the incomplete responses. Basically, the takeaway from this is just make sure to upload the documents as prompted. And especially if you're a startup, please submit a business plan. Please don't say that you're an existing business just so that you don't have to upload a business plan. We'll know if you're a startup, and we're going to ask you to submit the business plan. What to expect? So we do evaluate projects based off the project's readiness and project realization, aka how close are you to construction? So things like financing and bids, and then realization. So what sort of impact will you have on the community? If you have any questions about these, I'd be more than happy to answer. Again, I can't help you fill out your application. I can't tell you to write this and put it in the application, but I can go into detail about all these. Like for instance, what does positive community impact mean? Well, it could mean a lot of things, but is it aligned with a community plan? Have you spoken with local elected officials and garnered their support? Does a community actually want this business here, especially if you're a startup? And if so, can you demonstrate? Can you provide evidence to that effect? Yeah, if you have any questions about what any of these mean, definitely more than happy to answer them. And then our program manual is also available, and it goes over the salient points for these two evaluation factors. One thing to note is the NOF grant is competitive. So especially if you're familiar with the SPIF grant, you might be used to the idea of applying for the grant and then being put in a lottery system to see if you have immediate access to begin the process or if you're going to be placed on a wait list. So the way that we do applications is we take in all applications received during a given evaluation period, and then assess them based off readiness and realization. And then we select the most competitive applications. Now, if you do apply and you feel like you have a great concept and you weren't selected, you can reapply again. We're going to do what we can to provide resources to those that are not selected. That's going to include the aforementioned CDFIs, and then potentially business coaching, especially for startups that don't have a business plan. We're going to do our best to provide resources to those that don't get into the program. But again, if you're not selected, you don't have to wait for a year to apply again. You can apply again immediately. We do ask you to consider the factors that led to your application not being selected. If you do just copy and paste the same application, more than likely it will not be selected. These are just the stages of the NOF project itself. If you are selected, there's a lot of text on here, but basically there's 5 stages, really 4 stages of what happens when you become a finalist. We ask to provide some legal documents, and then we ask you to finalize the project documents that you submitted during the application. From there, we issue what's called a conditional award letter, which is the green light for you to start your project. And then once you've completed your project, we go through the process of closing before finally the project is complete and you become an NOF alumni. So there's a lot that goes into these stages. This is more relevant for finalists, for people that are selected into the program, but nevertheless, it's important to demonstrate what exactly you can expect if and when you are selected into the NOF program. So just some concluding thoughts before doing the QA session. Again, this is another gut rehab project that we did, I believe, back in about 2020, I believe, in Little Village. I think that turned out pretty well. And then this is a screen printing company that we did in Chicago Lawn on 63rd Street. Yeah, they did an interior exterior renovation. They're doing pretty well from what I understand. Again, the next evaluation deadline is Friday, May 16th at 11:59, but you can still apply anytime after that since it's a rolling application system. We're probably going to make announcements for this particular evaluation period sometime in July 2025. Again, the application process itself is online, so we don't select, or we won't be considering any hard copy applications. And we do encourage you all to work with community partners to help out with your application, as well as other important aspects such as financing and legal representation, finding contractors, and things of that nature. They're on hand to help you out. This is some general contact information for both the City of Chicago and SomerCor, but my contact information is in chat. So feel free to reach out to me via email or phone call. I've offered my one-on-one services to help you understand some aspects of the grant, and I will hold to that promise. All I have to do is reach out to me, and I'll be able to help you out in any way I can. With that said, I'll leave this contact information up on screen, and now we're going to go ahead and jump into the Q&A session.
Hello, thank you, Reuben. I'm just answering some questions that were sent privately, but I will start with the public ones. But if you sent a message privately, I will get to you as soon as I can. So first, we have, do you think a program like the NOF could be applied or adapted to help underserved communities globally, like in Gaza, where there's need for rebuilding and economic opportunity? And this person is also interested in learning more about how organizations like ours view partnerships or funding models that blend local impact with broader social responsibility.
Sure. That's going to be a little bit outside of the, and Kelly, can you go on mute? There's a little bit of background with your mic. Thank you. That's a little bit outside of the scope of my services. I do believe the NOF can provide an economic model for a lot of different municipalities. And we are actually, SomerCor is actually considering NOS impact on Chicago and recontextualizing it broadly for other municipalities. But there is no international component to the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. But we definitely encourage you to research more into NOF to see how you in particular could lead the charge for doing economic development in those areas with a similar model.
Okay, sorry about the background noise. Can you hear me okay? Enough?
Yes.
I'll go. Okay. What guarantees are in place to make sure this funding isn't just going to development firms or large project managers? In other words, how are we sure that the funds are going to the community?
Cool. Transparency. We make all of our finalists publicly available. I think we've been doing that for a while now, so you could actually just go online and look at exactly who has received funding. Not all finalists completed their projects, but yeah, we're fully transparent about who has received financing and who has completed. And I think, if you're worried about these funds going to private developers that already have millions of dollars, I think you'd be quite pleased at some of these smaller projects, or at the grand majority of these projects going to small businesses. And and we went through a lot of examples today. I don't think any of those examples were of a private developer.
Okay, regarding the reimbursement cohort, can I be involved as both contractor and business owner?
Can contractors apply for the grant? They can, but we have to know exactly how you're going to be shifting funds. So if you're a GC, you're going to have to pay the subs and get reimbursed for paying the subs. But if you're just an applicant moving money from your personal account to the GC's account, that's probably not going to be an acceptable model. So yeah, you're going to have to show that you're paying your subs. And then you'll be subject to all the same paperwork that as a GC you should be used to. Sworn owner statement, general contractor sworn statement, waivers of lien, W-9s, reimbursement letters, all that stuff.
Thank you. Would a recovery center / halfway home count as eligible?
I would say no. That's going to fall into shelters, the workforce development, that sort of thing.
What are the substantial differences between priority corridors and those simply labeled as eligible?
The data that we use to define these corridors should be available online, and I'm not personally an expert on the metrics that they used. I do know it's based off census tract data and it's based off certain economic outcomes. But one of the reasons that the map is going to change is because a lot has changed in 10 years. I do remember that the eligible commercial corridors and priority investment corridors were largely predicated by area median income. I don't know if that's still the case for the present iteration of the corridors, which is why they need to be refreshed. So the priority investment corridors, at least in the past, were seen as more distressed communities, and therefore there is a higher priority and still is a higher priority to centralize investment in those areas.
And I did also find the kind of straight out definition that DPD uses in the program manual. Next question, do I need to have a business license before applying and or being accepted in program or in the NOF?
If you're a startup, you're not going to need your business license, but in order for you to receive financing, in order for you to receive like your final disbursement, I should say, you're going to have a business license that's active on the location. Not every type of business is going to need a City of Chicago business license. So if that's the case, just let me know and I can do my own research into it. Sometimes you just need a state of Illinois license. Sometimes you just need something else entirely. But yeah, if you're an existing business, we are going to require the business license. So yeah, if you're already there and you're operating your business, yeah, you should have your business license, and you'll be submitting that at some point in the process. But if you're a startup business, you don't necessarily need your business license. There wouldn't be a way for you to get one unless you're really far along in the process. But we would require it at the end.
Okay, what's the typical payout timeframe for reimbursement once receipts/payout are submitted to the city?
Pretty quick. The NOF sort of prides itself on quick turnaround times for payment. Kelly, do you mind going on mute?
Sorry.
Yeah, we kind of pride ourselves off of quick turnaround times for payment, but it is all based on the accuracy of the paperwork. I encourage everybody to work with me directly in submitting paperwork and even getting it ready before the project is complete. Delays happen when the paperwork is submitted without drafting it first, without having me review it first. Because when that happens, there's probably going to be some mistakes on there, and those mistakes have to be corrected. The more mistakes there are and the less preparation, the longer the turnaround time. But the faster and the finalists that have received their money the fastest have always consulted me about the accuracy of their paperwork in advance of the project being complete, because all I have to do is review the paperwork. And then once it's all reviewed, and let's say the project is done, I don't have to, review paperwork after the project is complete. It's already done. So all I have to do is review it with the city. And if it's already reviewed and approved, then we can pay, either the contractor through escrow or the applicant. It's not going to be 3, 6, or 9 months. It's never been that. That only happens if there's a serious issue like building code violations, or the client just straight up not reaching out to me when I reach out to them. So yeah, 3, 6, 9 months waiting for payment doesn't happen with us unless there's a serious issue with the project. NOF has a very quick turnaround time, as long as I'm involved in the process and as long as the paperwork has been properly drafted.
Thank you. Someone asks, how often are evaluation periods?
They're going to be 4 times a year.
Someone asks, is there anyone who can help with the application process?
Community partners for sure. Again, we are developing a resource, and in fact, it might already be available. I don't exactly know. That explicitly says what community partners can do. And some of them will have identified themselves as being able to help fill out your application. Um, Project managers, to a lesser extent, can maybe help you fill out your application. That's not their primary function. But nevertheless, we are going to have a list of project managers that are available for finalists, I do want to say. So AKA you have to be in the program in order to utilize their services. But some of them have been with the program for about 6 to 7 years, and they know how to fill out an NOF application. So they could potentially help you with that. But again, community partners are going to be your resource. And if you have generalized questions, you can always reach out to me.
Are there any areas in the south suburbs on the map or further south than the city limit?
No.
Sorry, we got a couple repeats here. Do you have any more specific time frame regarding the turnaround?
I guess I would need more detail. Yeah, I can't really get much more specific than that, because the general gist of it is the paperwork has to be accurate. So as long as the client is accurate with the paperwork, then the turnaround time is quick, like I said. Now, our reviews happen during a specific time of the week. So let's say that you submit your documents on a Wednesday, and then the review happens the Tuesday of next week. Well, presuming that the paperwork is accurate when you send it in on Wednesday, I can put it in for review on Tuesday, and then the payment is approved and dispersed on Tuesday. So what is that, 6 days? Or 6, 7 days. Yeah, that's what I mean by quick turnaround time. You could even condense that if everything really aligns like it should, let's say you submit your paperwork on a Monday and I have time to review it and do my site visit. And this is all assuming that I was reached out to previously to check the accuracy of the paperwork, but now you're submitting it officially. I can review the paperwork on Monday, maybe even do my site visit Monday afternoon or Tuesday morning, and then get the city's approval Tuesday afternoon and make the payment on Tuesday late afternoon. So that's one day. I'm not going to sit here and say that we have 1 day turnaround times. Again, the stars kind of have to align for that sort of thing. I use all that to demonstrate just how quick the process can be as long as the paperwork is accurate.
Thank you. Can landlords apply for this grant?
Yes. Landlords need tenants though. So if you're applying as a landlord for a vanilla box, the application won't be accepted. You need to have a tenant. The reason for that is because we have eligible business types. So we have no idea what's going to go in a vanilla box. It could be a nightclub. So you need to have tenants, preferably tenants that have executed leases beforehand. We know that's a little bit of a challenge to have a lease executed before the space is built out, but plenty of landlords do it. At the very, 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 very least, you should have letters of intent from prospective tenants. And we're probably going to hold you to those letters of intent. And if the tenants do change, we're going to need to, of course, see the type of tenant that it is. And if it's an ineligible tenant, then the landlord itself is not eligible. But short answer, yes, landlords are eligible. You need tenants though.
Can nonprofit organizations apply for the grant?
Yes, but the focus is commercial businesses.
What other resources do you have for people who don't have a large amount of money available?
CDFI, the CDFI program. So once we make our CDFIs available to the public, you don't have to apply necessarily to reach out to a CDFI. The list is going to be on our website. If you are needing access to capital, reach out to one of the CDFIs or call me because SomerCor is a financer. We work with a ton of lenders. We can probably connect you to somebody that will be able to work with you on financing.
Can tenants be month to month if they've been with you for 5 years?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Yes. Instead of having a 5-year contract, can they be month to month if they've been established there for a long time? Is what I'm. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Right. Yeah. So it can at least be month to month as opposed to 3 or 5 year terms. Probably not. We'll take a look at the situation. I'll probably ask why it is month to month. And there could be a very legitimate reason. Month to months happen all the time. But we are looking for 5 year, 3 year, 5 year terms.
Is the money received from NOF grants considered taxable income?
It's going to be a better question for a CPA. I do know that I've never received indication that grant recipients have received tax forms. We've been getting this question a lot. So I do think maybe the city will say something more officially at some point. But to my knowledge, working 7.5 years of this program, no grant recipient has ever received a tax form. But nevertheless, that's a question for a CPA or H&R Block or a tax expert.
Okay, I'm just going through the chat, trying to get as many of these direct messages as I can. I think we've just about gone through them. If you have a question that didn't get answered, if you wouldn't mind putting it in the Q&A box, it just stays a little bit more organized that way.
Yeah, we'll do, yeah, if you have any more questions, we'll give you about 30 seconds to put in the chat.
Okay, here's one. Why are daycare centers ineligible for this program?
It's just a decision that was came to, or a decision that was made a few years ago. Every grant gets to choose what is eligible versus what isn't eligible. So the choice was made that daycares weren't going to be eligible. I think there was maybe concerns from the community about saturation of daycares, maybe concerns from elected officials as well. We're open to the idea of changing our mind on that in the future. But again, it's a grant program that chooses where the focus is. So the decision was made a while ago to not fund daycare centers. I still do encourage daycare centers or adjacent to apply and have the city make a decision from there. We still get every round we get daycare center applications regardless. So if you really feel like it's a good project and it's a good fit, and in particular, if you get a lot of bona fide community support, I would encourage you to apply. But again, yeah, the grant made the decision a while ago that daycare centers are not eligible.
Um, for Chicago business licenses, where do you apply? This person says, I see links for suburbs. Is this the same as an entity filing or something different?
I unfortunately can't help with licensing. I'm not entirely sure, what you're looking at, so my apologies, but I don't believe I can assist in that regard.
And then regarding the tenants, the month to month lease, they provided more clarity. Says even if the tenant is established for years.
Yeah, sure, but we'd have to know the type of tenant. That's even easier for us. If it's a landlord that's applying and your tenants have been there for a while, yeah, that makes it pretty easy for us if it's a competitive application. Normally, when landlords apply, there's no tenants. We're very much used to landlords applying with no tenants in mind, and they just want a vanilla box and put it on the market. But if you have established tenants, sure, we just need to know who they are.
Somebody says, I want to open a beauty shop. Is that eligible? If the plan is to create a nonprofit. Um,
Uh, right. So that could be eligible, but it sounds like it's a startup. So I would like to see your concept and a business plan to give me a better understanding. But yeah, beauty shops are, yeah, they're going to be eligible for the program as far as I know. But if it's a startup, just make sure to do a pretty thorough business plan. I don't think you need to use anything like Chat GPT or whatnot to make it. The best business plans are what the applicant themselves write. So yeah, just put together a business plan and submit your application.
could you say a bit more about where the funding for the NOF comes from?
Yes, and it's going to be in the presentation, which will be made available to you, as well as the recording of this session. It comes from something called the Neighborhood Opportunity Bonus, which is controlled entirely by the city of Chicago. So these are not federal dollars.
Can managers, administrators, and/or directors of an already established business apply for the business?
I don't think I understand the question. My apologies.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're not the owner, can you still submit the application?
You can be a representative of the business. If that's what the question is, like you don't have to be the business owner to apply. You have to disclose who the owners are at some point. But if you're applying as a representative, you can do that.
Okay, is there a list of eligible business? Um, I think meaning business types.
Not necessarily. We just have our list of ineligible because we want to have a wide range of eligible business types. So we don't necessarily have a exhaustive list of eligible businesses.
Somebody asks if the corridors, the NOF corridors will be changed. I believe they'll be updated 2026. They're updated every 5 years. And I am pretty sure the next update year is 2026.
Sounds about right.
Somebody asks, would a cigar lounge be eligible?
Yes.
I believe that is about the end of the questions we're able to answer.
Awesome. Well, we'll go ahead and conclude it then. Again, thank you, everybody. My contact information should be in the chat. So thank you. Appreciate it.
If you are a part of the BACP Entrepreneur Certificate Program, your account will automatically reflect your attendance for today. To learn more about our upcoming webinars, please visit chicago.gov/BACP webinars. Today's webinar was recorded, and you can view that on youtube.com/Chicago BACP. Thank you and have a great day.